Yo, I have a pair of Jordan 6s that you probably have never seen before or haven't seen in a very long time. This pair came out back in 2002 in the coral rose colorway. It's been about 23 years since these shoes came out, and you can tell that the soles have completely deteriorated. A small pressure on the insole will leave a permanent indent, and the soles are so dried out that the soles come right off. So in this video, we're going to be replacing the midsoles and we're going to make them look brand new again. The upper still looks solid, so the main focus will be on the midsoles. So right now, I'm using a flathead to separate the edge of the midsoles from the upper. I'm trying to keep the midsoles fully intact while I'm removing them. That way I don't have to spend more time removing it from the uppers. If you guys didn't know, the coral rose is a woman's colorway, so I'm using a donor that's also a woman's colorway. Both the corals and the donors are the exact same size. After I separate the uppers from the donors, I'm going to start separating the outsoles as well. You really don't want to rush this process, otherwise you'll end up ripping the midsoles. I'm going to drip acetone using a syringe on a toe cap and then peeling away the toe cap. This is basically how I separate any donors from start to finish. The outsole that extends up near the air bubble is pretty tricky to separate, so I'm going to cut out this section to help me have better access. This is going to give me leverage to put in acetone in this tight corner. Now it's time to focus on removing all that factory glue from the outsoles. I'm heating up the old glue with my heat gun. Make sure it's not too hot, otherwise it'll expand the outsoles. So my goal is to remove all of that factory glue along with that white film that the factory puts on there. It's no longer usable. The white film has completely dried out as well, so if I put new glue on top, it's just gonna separate. I'm gonna skive off the leather that bonds with the midsole. There's two reasons why I'm doing this. One, I get a fresh layer of leather to bond to, and two, I eliminate the chance of acetone leaking through the tape, damaging the uppers. Side note, if I have no choice but to use tape, as in if I need to touch something up after I re-glue a shoe, then I will. I just have to be very careful. Now what's interesting is that the back heel of the shoe is made of synthetic leather. It's made of Durbuck, not genuine leather. Because of how old these shoes are, I normally would remove this Durbuck material, just like a 99 white cement 4, black cement 4. But this part of the leather is still pretty healthy. It's not melting from the acetone. So instead, I'm just gonna prep it with acetone and cotton balls. The outsoles have a lot of dirt and grime, so I'm gonna use my special cleaner, FZ151. I'm gonna use my steamer with a brush attachment to loosen up the dirt. They're also oxidized, so I'm gonna put them in an ice box with hydrogen peroxide. Alright, now the next step is to prep the midsoles for a reglue. But before we do that, we're gonna apply damn it. I spilled some paint. Don't worry, y'all didn't see none. Let's pretend that never happened. Like I was saying, we're gonna reapply a thin white film before we start gluing the shoes. As far as I know, and a few other shoes, these are the only shoes that need this kind of treatment because you don't see this on the Jordan 11. This is to hide any imperfections on the midsole. Because if you look at the donor, you see holes and some parts of the air unit that's exposed on the midsole. So this is on all Jordan 5s and on Jordan 6s. I just applied glue on the midsole. Before I apply glue on the outsole, I'm going to use a Dremel to clean up the edges. There's a little bit of overspray from airbrushing the white paint on the outsoles. Using a smaller drill bit with a cone tip would have been a lot better, but I couldn't find it right now. Let's do a color match on the midsole. It's pretty simple. It's just sterling silver and gray. We want that metallic finish. That's why we're using pearlescent sterling silver. And to darken it up, we're just using gray. I'm gonna start airbrushing the midsoles. I'm laying down a white base coat and sanding in between coats to remove and knock off any dust that might stick to the midsole. I prefer not to bend the tape. That could introduce points of creasing or stress. So I'm gonna lay the tape flat and cut around the design. You really want to have the most delicate touch for this process. Too little pressure, your X-Acto knife isn't gonna cut anything. And too much pressure, you're gonna slice through the midsole. I'm going to apply a thin layer of paint on my first coat and go heavier on my third and fourth coat. And this also applies for the white base coat. Now that the midsoles have been painted, I'm going to start reheating the glue that we've let cure and then bond both the midsole and outsoles. I'm going to need to reshape the midsoles by dremeling down on the foam, because right now the midsole sits too high. So we're going to shave down the foam so the midsoles can sit perfectly on the uppers, covering the existing glue lines from the old midsole. I'm going to use a heat disappearing fabric pen to lay down my guideline on where to apply my glue on the heel. Once I lay down my guideline, I'm going to apply glue on the uppers and on the midsole. And just like the outsoles, we're gonna use heat to reactivate the glue and bond the shoes together. Okay, the shoes are fully glued, but we're still not done yet. We're gonna stress test the uppers, find any separations, and we're gonna make those separations bigger. We wanna make sure that the re-glue is solid, so I'm gonna try to forcefully separate the uppers, and for the areas that do separate, I'm gonna touch them up by re-gluing them again. This happens for a number of reasons. Usually if you don't apply enough glue, or if you didn't prep the surface properly, or sometimes the leather just flakes off and separates. So for the areas that did separate, I'm going to re-glue them again. And here they are, 2002 Coral 6 lows, fully wearable again. I've always wanted this shoe, but I can never find them in my size. I'm glad that these shoes are underrated. You could pick up a pair for less than 150 bucks dead stock. This has one of the softest leathers for a non-premium shoe. And that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, God bless. Yay!